This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air. You are watching exclusive footage inside the world of New Zealand's Special Air Service, better known as 1 NZSAS. Although the unit has a strict no publicity policy, its role in the global war on terror has reluctantly placed it in the spotlight. For 2 years, our television cameras have been granted unprecedented access to New Zealand's most revered military unit. For reasons of national security and to ensure no current operations or personnel are compromised, much about the New Zealand SAS's activities will remain forever secret. This is what we can reveal. Four months ago, 50 volunteers from the Army, Navy and Air Force were invited to the toughest selection process in the armed forces.
It's the hardest challenge that they've had to undertake in their military careers.
The prize, the chance to become an SAS soldier.
It's every young man's dream.
But for the dream to be realised, these volunteers had to make it through 10 days of hell, as they were put under the microscope and pushed further than ever before.
Get up there. When athletes hit the wall, this is our wall.
Each day, the unsuitable were weeded out.
Not everyone passes, nor should everyone pass.
As their bodies and minds were pushed to breaking point, the numbers dropped until, by the end, just 6 were left standing.
Well done.
For each man, it's a significant personal milestone.
You do get told this is the easy part. The hard parts to come.
After a summer restoring fitness and leaving regiments and families behind, the successful 6 are joined by 2 more.
Usually we have some people who may have been injured on previous cycles.
First, the trainees are shown to the barracks they will call home for the duration of cycle. Among them are 2 officers who endured additional days of tests after selection in order to qualify for cycle.
And they got 9 months to either develop it, unleash it, or confirm that there's nothing there.
While cycle offers a sneak preview of life inside the unit, the trainees will seldom mix with badged members. That privilege will only come if they prove their worth over the next 9 months.
We are looking at this individual. Does he have what we believe now that he's shown us? Can he go further and conduct the other 9 months of training? Does he have the right temperament? Does he have the right intellect? Is he a good team player?
You want an uniforms, boy? Get down, give me 20.
Staff.
Hurry up!
After a thorough inspection, they are introduced to the Regimental Sergeant Major, the RSM. Dedicated to upholding the standards of the unit, the RSM is the soldier's soldier who has risen through the ranks and commands the utmost respect.
Cycle, stand at, haste! Stand easy. Right, welcome to day 1 at the unit. Today you commence your basic cycle of training. It'll be testing, it'll be demanding. If you cannot keep up, you'll be removed from the cycle. If you dislike the person standing next to you, leave those thoughts and feelings at the gate when you come in. You'll be required to work together, to eat, sleep and socialise together. You will learn to rely on the people standing around you. You must trust them with your life. For the next 9 months, you'll conduct yourself around this camp in double quick time. You will run everywhere. Train hard, fight easy. Caution.
Once you decide to do the cycle, you give it your all.
First thing they did was to disrupt your routine, so there was nothing regular. I remember the first morning we jogged towards the mess for breakfast, but we ran straight past it and we were into a pretty vigorous period of heavens.
People wouldn't even talk to you. You weren't worth much to them. You'd only just passed selection. You were just someone who wanted to be at that stage.
Although it may be every young woman's dream to marry an SAS trooper, reality soon strikes home when she hasn't seen a young trooper for 9 months out of a year.
The unit's newest trainees are about to discover that what they will learn is far beyond any conventional soldiering.
Training is a combination of some serious book learning interspersed with unbelievable physical training. And therein lies the story, because sometimes it's hard to study books when you're physically exhausted, but that's exactly why they do it.
And they must strive to live up to the ethos of their British peers, 22 SAS, the benchmark of the International Special Air Service.
These are our tenets. Remember them and live by them daily. Number 1, the unrelenting pursuit of excellence.
The first few weeks are crammed with mental and physical challenges.
About teamwork, mate.
Number 2, maintaining the highest standards of discipline.
They are no longer treated as just soldiers.
At the end of this course, you will be able to plot and measure a course.
Number 3, the SAS brooks no sense of class.
So what we're going to go through now is the setting up of the beer can satellite antenna.
Number 4 is humour and humility.
Down! Stop! Get it down there, push it, let's go, go! We'll do this all day.
Mag 58, M203, M4, C9, various foreign weapon systems. You will master them. You will know them inside out.
They must absorb a huge arsenal of weaponry for conventional and counter-terrorist tasks.
Everything was the top. It's 100% or just below.
Hurry up, too slow! Stuffing around! You want to be in this unit?
The pace is non-stop. They run everywhere, either training or preparing for exams.
You might finish at the end of the day, and then you're going to spend the next few hours studying because you've got an exam the next morning.
Calculate the explosive content required to cut 6 50mm cables using PE4.
You might have bluffed it throughout the selection. They're looking at to make sure that it was the real deal that they saw in you.
But it's an unsuitable personality that proves the undoing for one soldier.
In such a small group, you get to see people warts and all, and sometimes, you know, the faces actually don't fit.
A failure to bond with his peers has dire consequences for one man's SAS dream.
We will cull them away and they'll never come back.
Left, front guard, move.
When operating behind enemy lines, they must be able to take care of themselves, with or without a weapon. Based on World War II hand-to-hand techniques, they're taught the art of close-quarter battle, CQB.
You learn combat. You learn how to disarm people. You learn how to fight, how they want you to fight.
The key to this, to sell a punch, to sell the old Hollywood.
Drawing on martial art techniques, this training will save their lives on operations.
That's good fight.
It will definitely be a case of kill or be killed. So we have to train with that in mind at all times.
During milling, a fighting technique using an open-handed punch, they must show no fear or mercy against their peers.
Inflicting pain on your friends? Yeah, it tests you, you know, because at the end of the day, it can be a bit of ill feeling in there.
Remember what you've been taught. Keep your helmet on, keep yourself covered up, lock horns, go hard. Go hard. Stand by. Fight!
This is no fight club, but the trainers expect a full-blooded contest using controlled aggression.
Get in there. Good cover. Back on him. Good. Keep him covered. Yeah, nice move. Keep it covered. Right back. Give it two. Come on, keep it covered. Don't let it come up. Oh, right. Come here.
There's a fine line. Going too far or not going far enough and the instructor bollocking you because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Look what's going on. Keep your guard on, cover up, get back in there.
If you can't take a few knocks in CQB, you're going to fail.
And again. Fight! 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 Get up!
The collateral damage is split lips and broken noses. CQB is merely a start, The next challenge will take them behind enemy lines.
We soon got to realise that SAS really stood for Saturdays and Sundays because we worked every damn weekend.
We did have a constant string of injuries, particularly from parachuting, bad landings, cliff climbing, things like that, where you're going to have injuries anyway because of the nature of what you're doing. So there was a bed in Ward 10 that was nearly always occupied by one of our chaps, so it was called the SAS bed.
The rule is look straight out and jump straight out into nothingness. I mean, it isn't natural. In fact, I've never got to have liked it at all.
After an intense first month, the trainees on cycle have learned to be an SAS operative takes much more than just physical presence.
There are certain things that you can train a soldier, sailor or aviator to do. What is more difficult to do is to train the mind and to change a person's mental outlook.
The wrong attitude has cost one man already.
It's a huge pressure cycle. Yeah, you just don't know if you're going to be there the next day.
The next phase of cycle harks back to the original SAS Desert Raiders and the Long-Range Desert Group in World War II. The ability to infiltrate behind enemy lines kickstarts any SAS mission. The cycle members must learn the access techniques of land, sea and air.
They'd have to have the ability to function in those environments if they are going to effectively plug and play into the unit.
The first infiltration skill is rock climbing. Having acquired the basics of abseiling in a controlled environment, the manoeuvre is attempted on a sheer cliff face.
You don't really want to muck it up, it's a long way to fall.
This is no weekend climbing course. They're weighed down with a 40-kilogram combat pack, unexpected obstacles like this bush, and a ticking clock. Technically, these performances are poor. So once at the bottom, the trainees are ordered back up the cliff. They're better, but not much. The cycle instructors are unimpressed. Their message is blunt. Only drastic improvement will guarantee their continuation on cycle.
Got to be trusted. Person's got to be trusted. When you tell them to do something, you've got to know in your own mind that they're going to do it to the best of their ability. I must say we did have a few people that wouldn't do it, but they don't last long, because someone will catch them out in the finish.
Now mountaineers must become mariners as they learn the second infiltration skill, by sea. The trainees must be able to manoeuvre these small, fast Zodiac boats in all weathers, busy ports and harbours, and rough open sea. They must know how to beach craft on rugged coastlines, and if all goes wrong, repair a malfunctioning engine.
How to navigate on the sea, how to survive in the sea.
You just make sure you swim very well.
The bottom line is take your sea suit pills.
During the sea training, it's again evident some are struggling to achieve the standards expected.
Well, if you don't achieve it, you're not going to be there the next day, are you? If you don't pick up something quickly and how they want it to be done, and that's just the basics.
A lot of them will simply make wrong decisions that in combat will get them killed.
It's no surprise when the trainers decide on a direct course of action.
You know why you're here, so please take a seat.
Groups of privacy?
Yeah.
For one cycle member, there's been too many mistakes. As another goes, the pressure on the remaining 6 to succeed reaches a new intensity.
They just up the ante a bit more and make selection look easy.
The third infiltration skill, by air, is bread and butter for the New Zealand SAS. For 50 years, the unit has taught its members how to parachute behind enemy lines, a skill it has perfected. No cycle member will pass until he has taken his first jump, so they begin a rigorous training program to get them out the rear door of a Hercules at extremely low altitude.
I think being on cycle, it pushes you that little bit harder, and you're expected to go the extra mile.
The countdown to their first jump begins as the lumbering Hercules rises from the tarmac. The trainees have less than 1,000 feet to ensure a safe landing. Even a tiny misjudgment could prove fatal.
You're not really thinking about the jump, thinking more about what you've got to conduct whilst under canopy, whilst in the aircraft, very much the drills.
At this moment, any phobias or reservations must be put aside.
At this stage of a person's training, there is no way that they're not going to jump out of that aircraft.
Stepping off the back of that Herc, it's just one big window out the back, and you take that first step by walking through a door.
During cycle, there'll be many jumps, some as great as 12,000 feet. But their first is the most memorable and the lowest.
Everything happens rather quickly. You don't get a lot of time under canopy at 1,000 feet.
In a matter of seconds, the trip to Earth is over.
Dangle and thump, you know, you fall and you hit the ground hard.
All land safely, and this time, no one is cold.
It was absolute crap. You get a timely reminder from the DS. There's only so many chances that you get before you're released.
If nobody finishes, we're fine with that, because we're not going to drop our standards just to have people come through the front gate.
There is one final infiltration skill to learn. From Vietnam to Afghanistan, SAS patrols have used helicopters to insert into some of the deadliest hotspots. Now the cycle members must learn how to exit safely from a fast-moving chopper. The task is repeated until the rough edges are ironed out. First, they are taught the art of rappelling. With the directing staff giving them close attention, errors must be avoided. Here they abseil 30 metres to the ground, with nothing but terra firma to break the fall.
It's a fast way to get where you're going.
Attempting to infiltrate into jungle conditions proves far tougher. Finally, the trainees must ascend a single swarm rope, an essential skill for landing in high-rise urban surroundings. Like all cycle courses, the manoeuvre is rehearsed until it's second nature. All succeed. The infiltration phase is complete. Next, the trainees will move on to the battlefield.
We really lived like pigs, you know, grovelling around on the jungle floor and never once did anybody complain. You'd look around, they'd give you a big smile and the thumbs up.
Maintaining that mental toughness of, okay, what's around the corner? There's a new job coming up. Okay, let's get ready for that. Planning, rehearsals, preparation.
What doesn't leave you are the memories, like the good old soldiers. Well, they remember all the good times. They'll forget about the leeches and whatever else, and you know, being very tired and getting shot at.
It's Anzac Day. The cycle members have joined the unit, veterans, family and friends, for a private memorial service at Squadron HQ.
Today we pause and we salute and we give thanks to God for those who are prepared to suffer and die under the banners of justice and freedom.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old.
For the soldiers remaining on cycle, it's time to head into the field for a sustained period of patrol training.
Let my uniform remind me daily of the traditions of the Special Air Service of which I am part. If I'm inclined to doubt, steady my faith. If I'm tempted to sin, make me strong to resist. If I should miss the mark, give me courage to try again.
For this next phase of cycle, the Six will spend months living and working in a landscape of forest, mountain and scrub. The very same landscape that half a century ago played host to 800 hopeful recruits. Inspired by the British SAS, New Zealand formed its own Special Air Service on the 1st of May 1955. The job of establishing this elite force would fall to a visionary officer, Major Frank Rennie.
Because of his background in training, he knew exactly what he wanted for his SAS squadron.
An applicant had to be preferably single, under 6 foot, weigh less than 83 kilos, have their own teeth, good eyesight, no criminal record, and be above average intelligence.
He wanted endurance, integrity, personal drive.
By winter, the 800 hopefuls had been cut down to 180 men. At Waiouru military camp, they began a rigorous process to become New Zealand's first SAS soldiers.
To say that our feet never touched the ground would be literally true, because we started running and we ran everywhere, and we ran everywhere for the next 6 months.
The applicants would have to prove their skills in weapons handling and navigation. The training was always very physical, the infamous scaffold course being one of the challenges.
You had to jump gaps, climb from one level to the next, perhaps carried somebody in a fireman's lift. Then there was a flying fox, which to get down to the bottom. It was a diabolical thing.
In his drive for excellence, Rennie turned everything into a contest. Running competitions, initiative tests, always pitting troop against troop.
He had a famous saying, Smith, you better buck up. You'd be in the B team.
Such was the competition that everyone wanted to be in Rennie's SAS. But there was only room for 133 men.
And there were 4 left. And they had to be told by the commander that they'd failed. And that was very difficult. For them, especially. One of them broke down and cried.
7 days a week they trained, and then Rennie said he was satisfied. Today, it's another generation struggling through winter at Waiouru military camp.
It's cold, it's miserable, and you feel like you're literally right on the arse end of it.
Everything the Six have learned so far on cycle is gearing them to the heart of any SAS mission, operating as a patrol.
It's definitely about trying to bond this group of individuals into a very tight-knit group.
What they learn now will keep them alive on deployment overseas.
In the main, you will not see SAS taking the offensive against an opponent. They will lay in wait and obviously stage ambushes, but they will do a lot of reconnoitering. They will do a lot of intelligence gathering.
Operating in small groups is a fundamental part of the unit. Being able to do that will see the success or not of missions that you will undertake if you complete and successfully pass the cycle of training. Work hard as an individual, work hard as a team, and the tenets that you've had drilled into you over the period of the training to date, hold them in high regard, hold them in your mind, hold them in your heart. and give it shit.
Retreating into the undergrowth for weeks at a time, they hone skills based on the unit's campaign history.
It's the next dimension into the training. You learn a lot of your bushcraft.
Here, veterans from Vietnam observe the trainees' every move during a silent patrol.
Your movement wasn't too bad, but there's one thing that really stood out to me, and that was you were bumping against trees. That's where I was picking you up from way the hell back.
Next, they learn to evade and track the enemy using skills that have made the New Zealand SAS world famous.
You can learn about your prey, what they're eating, their morale, how much weight he's carrying, everything about them. You learn about that by tracking these people.
Every broken branch and misplaced rock has a story to tell, as the soldiers learn to decipher trails in the undergrowth. After 3 months, the trainees are tuned into the landscape, able to lie silently and wait, often for days at a time.
Imagine 4 or 5 people sitting there for up to 5 days, not moving, not being able to cook or heat water or for a hot drink or cook their food, having cold food, and having enemy activity as close as 10 feet away from you. There was a lot of cold sweats as well as hot sweats.
A feature of this training is the way unit veterans ensure lessons are new, but old ones aren't forgotten.
It's wasteful to fire all 4 or 6 or 8 claymores that you're carrying when you're only going to get 2 or 3 kills on the track.
Most importantly, they must prepare for contact with the enemy.
Righto, let's go to it.
As with any operation, an enemy ambush can occur at any time. When it comes, the trainees must react immediately.
Come on, faster you get back there, the more rest you get.
But failure to respond appropriately means one more soldier is dismissed from cycle. None of the others see him removed. Month 6 of cycle. The 5 remaining trainees have now acquitted themselves with many of the basic requirements of an SAS trooper.
Load action.
But still their life on cycle is precarious.
They are not posted to the unit. They are only under assessment and they can be removed at any time.
It's self-induced, the pressures that you put on yourself to perform, because you know you're going to such a professional unit.
Hey, target destroyed.
They do have to be committed to excellence. They do have to be dedicated. They do have to be professional. They do have to want to belong to this organisation.
On overseas deployments, the NZSAS is often called to do the jobs nobody else can. On cycle, this means destroying enemy targets using an array of heavy weapons.
Firing now.
Missing means mission failure.
You're humbled enough times, you make mistakes.
Then the pressure's going to be put on you even more to see if you can sort yourself out.
Let them have it.
By this stage of cycle, failure or success is measured in millimetres.
From here we'll move on to the 84s.
No worries.
Provided your weapons are very good, what else do you need? And using your nose and your eyes and your ears.
Everybody was a professional and they knew that those skills were required, perhaps not tomorrow, but the next day or the day after.
That's where you start getting to grips with what the SAS is all about.
After 6 gruelling months, the 5 soldiers on the NZSAS training cycle have reached crunch time.
By the end of it, you know their ins and outs, you know their strengths and weaknesses.
Next, they must prove they can function as a patrol, working behind enemy lines. The trainee patrol must destroy key targets with carefully placed explosives.
You're taught in the military to treat every weapon as if it's loaded. You treat every piece of ordnance as a weapon. You treat it with respect.
Once the mission is underway, there's no turning back. Ever alert for an unseen enemy, the patrol's first objective is to destroy the barbed wire perimeter. Now the long hours of classwork theory will be put into operational practice. They must strategically position measured explosives for maximum impact. The training staff now add incoming fire to test their mettle.
You can't afford to make a mistake. You've got to be thinking on your feet all the time.
And like any mission, it's not over until the patrol is safely extracted. Now the mission's fate will be judged by the flick of a switch. The trainees take this minor victory in their stride because they know the next challenge has been the end of many a soldier on cycle.
I'd get quite, I guess nervous is the word, and I'd have difficulty sleeping, difficulty eating, and the fears that I had were that I was going to do something that was going to cause my guys to be captured.
Spring arrives bringing the final cycle exercise, Operation Great Escape.
Great Escape is a final testing exercise, which is the test of them as a patrol.
That's what it's all about. Accumulation of everything you learned and then to go and test it.
The instructors will now learn how the trainees cope when being hunted down by a large enemy force. Operation Great Escape will put them in that very real scenario.
It's a will to live, a will to survive, and your will to succeed.
By the time this exercise is over, the fine line between training and the realities of war will have been blurred.
You treat it like a course. You've gone through all the other courses and that, so you want to pass.
Oblivious to the exact location, they are inserted 150 kilometres into enemy country.
They just dropped us there and said, well, off you go.
On the run, they must use their wits and guile to gather vital intelligence, then deliver it safely to a rendezvous while avoiding capture. The patrol has just 5 days to achieve its mission. The patrol is vastly outnumbered by the hunter force. Although this is just an exercise, all treat it as deadly real.
Mission. The company is to capture the enemy patrol through ambushing in order to ensure the continued security of New Zealand.
The manhunt begins. The skies fill with search helicopters and the army mobilises. Meanwhile, the patrol must rely on its own footwork to cover the ground.
You know the hunter force is looking for you. You got certain checkpoints to meet. I mean, the control of your destiny, if you like, is in your hands.
The patrol knows the only way to achieve its mission is to keep going through the night. But so does Hunter Force. Day 2, and Hunter Force has blocked all the main routes as its ground forces push deeper into the countryside. Knowing their pursuers are close by, the patrol is confronted with an open track. Their dilemma, cross and risk ambush, or head back towards the search party.
You make the wrong decision, you get caught.
It's not long before the dogs pick up the patrol's scent and the chase begins. At an open crossroads, they face exposure, but make it through unseen.
If the dog teams are on your tracks, then you got to move faster than them and drop their scent.
Day 3, the air throbs with activity, and the patrol again goes to ground. All the time, Hunter Force gets closer. As the choppers pass overhead, the patrol takes its chances in the dense undergrowth in a bid to confuse the chasing dogs. They move fast enough to drop the scent and only just make it to the checkpoint. They're given vital intelligence that must not fall into enemy hands under any circumstances.
It is really black and white when you look at it. Say nothing and get out of there is the aim.
It's day 4 of Operation Great Escape, and the patrol is exhausted.
You're there living and breathing for 24 hours. You're doing it without sleep, you're doing it without food.
They can only rest when Hunter Force allows.
Preferably a place that's pretty ugly, where you don't think the enemy party will look for you or want to go in there.
Desperately behind on time, the patrol spies a shortcut. But is it an ambush?
Your mind's thinking about what if, what could happen.
Remembering what they've been taught from the veterans, the patrol correctly deduces that the broken foliage means a trap. They retreat into the undergrowth. It's the final night of Operation Great Escape, and Hunter Force intensifies their efforts. With 30 kilometres still to go, the patrol meets a waiting van to take them to their final destination. After 5 days on the run, their bodies steal a much-needed rest.
Let's try and get some rest if you can, guys.
This relaxation will prove a terrible mistake. The patrol has given up the safety of the undergrowth, and are heading straight into an ambush. For 5 days and nights of Operation Great Escape, these soldiers have evaded capture from a large enemy force. They believe their task is finally over. The reality is, there is no great escape. They're being driven straight into an orchestrated ambush. Now surrounded by the entire Hunter Force, there's no chance of escape.
The lot of a Special Forces trooper who is captured by an enemy is a very unhappy one. The best thing that can happen is that they die quickly. That makes it imperative that they be trained in interrogation techniques, which in turn means that they have to be able to withstand brutality. It's an unfortunate part of the business, but it's a very ugly business to begin with.
For 5 long hours, they remain face down in the back of a lorry.
You've just got to prepare yourself mentally as much as you can for what happens next.
Now they're driven to an abandoned cabin in the middle of nowhere for their final ordeal.
It does involve taking these soldiers into the darker recesses of the human psyche, and it does involve physical pain. But if they don't explore these things in training, they are more likely to crack immediately when they fall into enemy hands.
It's about toughening this little nut up and saying that, you can get through it.
It's very much a challenge to maintain focus.
Are you going to break?
One by one, they're led away to face their fate.
If people haven't assimilated the skills required, then our options are really there's only one, and that's that we remove them at that point in time.
It's a scene that only those involved in may witness. "48 hours later, they are finally released. They didn't crack. All 5 soldiers are through. It's been a profound experience.
It's not something anybody really talks about. The experience itself is between you and the interrogators and the people that were there. Because it is, to a degree, humiliating, dangerous if it's not controlled properly. And yeah, it's not something you go and crack a bottle of champagne over, but it is, I believe, something that is needed.
One year ago, 50 men set out to join the NZSAS. Today, only 5 have earned that badge.
To be badged, for us, to be badged in the SAS was the highlight of of my career anyway.
Went home and on leave, and I thought I was the king of the castle, and I've felt it ever since. When you put that beret on, you must feel 10 foot tall.
Said, oh, done that, and now let's try and demonstrate that you're worthy of it.
We are the pilgrims, Master. We shall go always a little further.
It's not about the marching, it's not about that. It goes deeper.
It's more of a sense of achievement within, I think.
Today, 2 families combine. The families of those being badged with a family that is one NZSAS group.
We're all, humble.
New Zealand Special Air Service Bureaus are presented to those personnel who have qualified on the NZSAS basic cycle of training.
Your turn for operational service will come soon enough.
Congratulations, we wear this beret with pride.
You have a great deal more to learn, and remember always the pursuit of excellence. This is a significant rite of passage. You now stand with us and share a bond unlike any other. You are now one of us.
All the lessons you've learned through cycle and selection, knowing that you can go that little bit further, all the skills that you've picked up, and knowing that that's just the beginning. That's only just the beginning of what's really going to come.
In the world of the New Zealand SAS, the door has only just opened.
We've achieved a lot to get to that basic level of capability and be a posted member of the unit, but now you have to live it.
Next week, for the first time ever, you will see the inner workings of one of the world's fighting elites, the New Zealand SAS. Our cameras will follow the newly badged troopers as they acquire counter-terrorism skills, essential for modern warfare, where even New Zealand could become the battleground.